Okay, so first I wanted to talk about herbs because this is something that I mean, you can make countless things with, I feel like. And even a lot of the recipes that I talk about, like even with like zucchinis and some of the other recipes will all call for some herbs too. But I just wanted to specially call out herbs because if you haven't grown anything before and you're a beginner, like this is definitely the place to start is all herbs because you can use it so many different ways in the kitchen. I mean, honestly, there you can't go wrong with growing any sort of herbs. And they will give you a lot of harvest too. So we have things like pestos that we've made before, which are so good. If you haven't ever tried it, I hadn't actually ever tried it before I made it. And I had just heard people talk about pesto. So I didn't really even know what it was. But whenever I made it, I was like, oh my gosh, I understand why people love it so much because it tastes so good. It's super simple to make. I just put all of the ingredients into a food processor, blend it all up, and then boom, you have your pesto. And you can also do this to preserve too. And then I have the recipe that they'll be posting up here too of all of the different ingredients and all of that if you are guys are interested. Um, but yeah, it's super simple to make the pesto. It tastes great. You can use it in a whole bunch of different ways. Um, Another one, and what's really great about pesto too is that so the recipe that I have is for sage pesto, which is actually like one of my favorites. I absolutely love sage pesto, but there's a lot of different herbs that you can make pesto with. Like you can substitute out the sage and use basil or something like that. So that's something that's great about pesto. Like you can make the same recipe but switch out the herb and it tastes completely different. It is great. And then also I want to mention my favorite chives. Super easy to grow and they come back year after year and they spread and take over and I can never have enough chives. Absolutely love it. But one of my favorite ways to use it is super simple, making mashed potatoes because I do that all the time. And I use these kitchen scissors all the time. If you've never seen those, you need to check them out. They're super cool. They just have like 5 blades on them as you cut, and it makes it really simple to go through and use it in the kitchen. So I do that into mashed potatoes. I do scrambled eggs with them, a lot of different things. Like I add chives too, and it's super great. Um, and then one way at the end of the season that we go about preserving all of these herbs is by we have these like silicone ice trays that we put in like chopped up either basil or any whatever herb it is that we have a lot of. And I put a lot of that into each ice cube tray and then pour a little oil on top of it and then put it in the freezer. And then whenever I let them freeze and then I move them over to a freezer safe bag. But then that way, whenever I'm going through, I'm making like a pasta sauce or something like that, I can just pop out one of these ice cubes, essentially ice cubes. I pop them on my pan and I let it melt out. And then I already have my oil. I have some dried herbs that are ready to go in there, fresh herbs. Um, it's an amazing way to go about preserving your herbs and having them even in the winter time. So I highly recommend doing all that. And if you guys have any other favorite ways to use your herbs, I would love to hear them. Oh, sorry, I didn't see that question. Patty says, which sage? Garden sage is the sage that we use typically.